Aye. Yeah. It's like a Snoop Dogg track. Hello, everybody. I am tonight's entertainment. Or, not, sort of. I'm a guy across the internet. But today what I'm going to do is do a development vlog. I don't know why I did a weird face with that. But anyways, I used to do these. I did one previously where I talked about item design. And today I wanted to do something very similar and talk about making some artwork. This kind of shows the process of when I make stuff, like what goes into it and things like that. And so I want to do that a little bit today with some artwork. And in the future, I'm going to do that with more stuff related to artwork, but also programming, designing stuff in Unity, and just be more transparent with the development process. So to start, let me kind of show you what I'm going to make. If you remember Ukulele when that came out, this is the only one that could kind of come to mind. In some of these Kickstarter games, they show a like stretch goals section, and they have like, you know, artwork like the little heads of the characters from the game. They talk about like what you get at different tiers and things like that. I kind of want to do something similar where I'm talking about where I want to go with development for our game Bowman, but I need some artwork to kind of like stylize it a little bit. So I want to make artwork of the bats, which we have. If you go to the game, you'll see there's a little bat here, and the bats just basically move from one side of the environment to the other, and then you attack them. So I want to just make some artwork of those bats now, so that I can include in that page when I make it. So that's what we're doing today. But first, I need a little pick-me-up. Sweet ale of the Time Lords. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to swap over to the iPad, and I will show this portion. Okay, we're going to do the basic drawing in an iPad, but we're going to do the compositing and a lot of the coloring in Photoshop on the computer, and I'll show all of those steps. So to start, the bats in my game are kind of box shaped, so I want to get a square. Let's go to Google. I'm going to design it in Adobe Fresco. You can use more advanced applications that are better for drawing. But by default in Adobe Fresco, they don't include any of the boxes or like the basic shapes. So I'm just going to paste one in here like that. Boom. Boom. And I'll rename this to something more appropriate, just like EG, and then we'll do SG for stretch goals, and then we'll do bat. That'll be good. All right. So let's make the body first. So the reason I got the square is I want it to be kind of like, since the body is like square shaped, I just want to use that as kind of a guideline. But I'm going to make all of the components on separate layers so that I can resize them and remove them as I see fit. So just starting with the box. Okay, that's probably good. I'm going to move it though. Something like there. So that's a basic body design, and I'm gonna have some teeth. That looks good. And then next I need some eyes, and I'm gonna do this on a separate layer so that I can move them and modify them as I see fit. So that's good. This whole thing needs to be smaller, I think. Okay, so that's probably good. So next I need to do the wings, and I'm going to do these on a separate layer as well. Okay, that looks pretty good. The other thing that I need to add, though, is some modifications to the body. I need to corner out the sides of the mouth, and then I also need to add ears, which is on the model, so it matches what's actually in the game. So I'm going to do that now. One thing that you might have noticed is that I'll do a lot of erasing. I wish I was like one of these really artistic people like my friends are, where they don't have to ever erase and it just flows naturally onto paper. But if you're not like that, it's no big deal. Just, take your time, erase things as necessary to get it right. Okay, that's looking pretty good. I'm going to do some very minor coloring in Adobe Fresco, but then the rest of it we're going to do in Photoshop, as well as some compositing. So I just want like a nice yellow color for the fangs. So I'm going to fill them in. I'll do the same for the eyes, but it looks like one of them is perhaps... Oh, nope. I was just filling in the wrong layer. Okay, and then I want to do the body. So in the game, they're kind of like a grayish blue color, so I'm going to try and mimic that here with just kind of like a dark bluish color. Okay, that looks pretty good. So the rest we're going to toss over to Photoshop to do some final composition. So I'm going to save it, and then let's switch over to the computer. Not sponsored, but if you want to send me Monster, I will gladly take it. I will drink every damn day Monsters. I mean, I don't need your permission to do that. I do that anyway. So yeah, we have our bat. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate all of these vector layers. And the reason I'm doing that is because I'm going to rasterize them and combine them into... Actually, not yet. I'm not going to combine them yet. But I will hide the original layers, and I'll also hide the background. So there are a couple of things that we want to do. The first is do some coloring on the wings. So the reason I wanted to do this part in Photoshop... Ooh, let me fill in this part really quick. The reason I wanted to do this in Photoshop is just because I wanted to apply a gradient. So the way I'm going to do this, first I need to enclose this, and we'll touch it up a little bit later. I'm just going to... So using the magic wand tool, I'm just going to select the enclosed space, and I'm going to hold shift so I select both. And then I'm going to go to the gradient tool, make sure I'm on a line or linear gradient, and then I'm going to select some colors. And the colors that I want is going to be like a yellowish to a orangish, kind of like that. And then we'll just fill in that layer. Okay, that looks better. Now I'm going to deselect, and I'm going to remove this little border that I made. There's various ways that you could have done this to enclose that area. But for the purposes of this project, this will be sufficient. Okay, so that's the wings. We also want to use this gradient to fill in the mouth and the ears. So I'm going to, again, use the magic wand tool, select the mouth, and with the same gradient, we'll just apply a nice gradient across the mouth. Okay, so that's looking good. So now I will group these layers. I'm also going to duplicate them and merge the duplicates. And I'm going to duplicate this layer again because we're going to do some lighting. I'm also going to make a background that is kind of like grayish, just so we can kind of play around with it. So this bottom layer, I'm going to add a drop shadow. And the reason I want to add a drop shadow is because it just helps it kind of like pop out of the page. So if you're including it on like a website or something, this will really help it stand out. We'll eventually remove this, right? Because we want to keep it transparent for whatever we put it on top of. But I'm just putting this so we can kind of see the contrast. Between these two, I'm going to make a new layer, and we're going to do some lighting effects with a dark blue. So I'm going to hide this top layer, and I'm going to make this blue layer an overlay. So you see how it's much darker now? The reason I do that is because you can do some shading effects when you're like drawing it and applying the colors in like Adobe Fresco or something, but it's much harder than just making a darker version of it and then just applying a gradient. So that's what I'm going to do here. So we have our layer below, we add this new layer with a color, make it an overlay, and then we have a standard one on top of it. With the standard one, I'm going to make a vector mask, rasterize it, and then using that good old gradient tool that I love so much, we're gonna choose a black and a white. And then on the mask, we're going to apply a gradient. So it gives like the illusion that there's a light source up in this upper quadrant, and it's getting darker as we go across. So very nice, very nice. And then also we can select outside of the bat on our lower layer, and then with this blue overlay layer, we can delete that area so we don't see it. This is looking pretty good. But I think the eyes can really pop a little bit more. So what I'm going to do that is I'm going to duplicate this layer. And we're going to delete the mask. And I'm going to select the eyes holding Shift, then hit Shift Control I or Shift Command I if you're on a Mac to select everything opposite of what we had selected, and I'm going to delete it. So now this layer, if I were to remove everything, is just the eyes. And then I'm going to go into blending options, and I'm going to give it a glow. So let's do an outer glow. Orange is okay, but I'm going to give it some spread and increase the size a little bit. And maybe drive the opacity down to make it look like the eyes are glowing. And then I'm going to duplicate this layer. In the duplicate layer, I'm going to bring the opacity of the outer glow down a little bit. And then I'm going to take the smudge tool and just smudge the sides a little bit, just to make it look like there's some fire coming out of them. Okay, that looks pretty good. If I do say so myself, sometimes I make myself very proud. Somebody's got to. And then I go to, I'm gonna make some particle effects. So maybe with about 10 pixels. Nah, I gotta do more than that. 20? No, that's too much. 15. 12. Okay, that's good. So we're going to make some particle effects, and we're going to cheap it and do it really easy. We're just going to add a couple of dots on a fresh layer. But we don't want the particles to all be of the same size, so I'm going to drop this to like 6 and do some smaller ones in between. And then let's copy the layer style of the underlying layer. Underlying? What the fuck? And then paste it so there's an outer glow now on those particles. And then go to blending options, and in the blending options we'll go to make the size a little bit smaller so it hugs the particles a little bit more. Bring the opacity up. Maybe bring the spread down a little bit. That looks good to me. And there you have it. Beautiful, beautiful bat that we have created from scratch. And it's a simple drawing, right? This is pretty much just a box with some wings that I sketched out really quickly in Adobe Fresco. And then we just applied some coloring and composition stuff and made it really pop. And I think that this would be good then to throw on the website. And of course, I'm going to make more. I'm going to make, in addition to the bat, I'm going to make like a little archer guy and maybe the wizard and stuff like that. So I hope this video was useful to you. It's just a simple drawing, but you know, I love creating stuff, and I hope that you enjoy creating stuff as well, and that you won't be discouraged from doing it either professionally or even just as a side hobby like I'm doing. Let me know what you think, and I hope to provide more of these devlogs in the future. Not just artsy stuff, but also like programming and all of the other stuff that's going on with the development of Bowman going forward. And I will probably include those more often as development continues. I am working on PvP, but I don't have anything to show on that at this time because there is a lot to do. But I will add more devlog stuff related to PvP in the coming months as things progress. Thank you for watching. I hope to see you in the next one. Stay awesome.